to Microsoft Teams. Please ensure your microphones are muted on both your Teams device and your mobile phone. If you are listening to the translation and you wish to speak, only unmute your Teams device. So before we begin, I will ask Councillor Angus Morrison to lead us in prayer. Thank you.
Lord our God, we thank you once again for this opportunity bestowed upon us to come before a throne of grace. And as we come to the throne, Lord, we'll acknowledge the one who is on the throne, the sovereign Lord, the one who holds the whole universe in his hands. And we pray this day, Lord, that you would continue to bless and pity us, that you would continue to shine on us with your face, and that the earth thy way and nations all would know thy saving grace. Bless us as individuals as we are gathered together before you, Lord. You know each one of us personally, you know our needs, you know our requirements, you know our thoughts, you know our words, you know our actions. So therefore, Lord, we pray that we would come with humility before you. We thank you, Lord, for the health that we get each day, the strength that is given to us, the little things that we take so often for granted, Lord. Oh, Lord, that we would be thankful to you for them. Each day that we get, each breath that we are given. And we especially remember this day those who are less fortunate than we are at this time. We remember the bereaved, the sick, the suffering, those who may be waiting for appointments at hospitals, those who may be waiting for the results of tests, Lord. Many different circumstances. We remember those connected to us as a Comhairle who had bereavement in the past few days. We remember Ian Norman Campbell and the loss of his mother. We remember those keenly affected by the death of Nigel Scott. Oh Lord, there are many situations that we can bring to you, but you are the great comforter of all situations. We remember the family concerned and anxious for the well-being of the young lad who is missing at this time. All that is done for the emergency services, Lord. And as we remember this, we also remember the sudden passing of the young girl in Uist. We remember, Lord, the family connected, those who are most closest to the situation, Lord. As a community, we feel so many these situations so sore. But Lord, you are the one who is able to, that we can come to and who listens to us, who knows everything. Bless this committee at this time of this council, Lord. Bless us as members, as officers. Every endeavour that we do, Lord, for all that we represent in our community, that all will be done to the good. We ask now that you would be with the chair, vice chair, as he conducts this meeting, Lord, and that all will be done in order. Go before us now and pardon us freely for our many sins. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. The meeting is now being recorded. In regard to the conduct of the meeting, a reminder of the following, as usual. If you're a member of the committee attending remotely, please leave your camera on and your microphone off. Officers attending remotely, please leave both off unless you're called to speak, to report or answer a question. A reminder to members and officers in the chamber of the queuing system. The chair controls the mics. First in the queue flashes green and the remainder are solid green. The chair will allow each flashing mic in which will change to red. Only 2 mics on the floor will be red at one time. If you wish to come back on a question, please leave your mic on, and officers speaking to the report, I would advise you to do the same. Committee members will be given priority. In regard to declarations of interest, members must leave the chamber or end the call remotely. Item 9 will be taken in private at the end of the meeting, and prior to moving into private, participants other than the relevant officer and members will be asked to leave the meeting. Finally, a reminder that the meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the Comhairle's website following the meeting. As you go as it go, cwsbar y hwn, gael cantos i'r cynnu i'r chere wa eisiau gan y habyn i'r blion o siwr. Sa sy'n son un doch i'r. Right. As cwtioch yn ar y cwsbar gael cantos cynnu for committee teudus, waar Comhairle i'r yn ochr wag yn y nafer. Sa sy'n son pysrwch. Cwsbar y 3 cwar u Maar ik bouw wat buil ze bij een kusper ze bij er gewoon oplug begorgeef schöne kwadig. Wie femel en Jezus buil en over wil ja de kwadig en u ze kusper. Jorin buil zijn schomerschen Jan in de raster. Leef ik huur microfoon maar dat is klechko Teams. Leef ik klechke huur dan tokelwijf. Jennifer Keuntje geweer schijf ganamchig, geriest van de gusper immigie, geweer schijf rentin glechkig, maar de gai de wie nog gegroeid. Maar als je in de koers niet gaat kus voor de keer, via nog janitus, als je een prima officer en wangig economisch uit kruis nog.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So the report in front of you, it provides a half-year progress report on the strategic priorities for the Economic and Community Regeneration Service. There's a wide range of activity ongoing, but the report's focus is to update on progress against the actions in the service business plan. There's also an update in the report on strategic risk, workforce and financial matters. Quite a long report, but as you can see, services are making progress against all aspects. There's a slight delay in progress with the local housing strategy due to resource issues, but this is anticipated to be back on track shortly. I won't go through it line by line, but just to point out some particular areas that may be of interest. So looking to 7.3, that update, 7.2 and 3 updates progress against the Eilean steel projects that the service are involved with, and notes that Akershed redevelopment was completed in Q1. Sections 7.4 to 7.6 provide an overview of work being delivered by the Business Gateway service. So that service continues to perform well. Levels of activity are much the same as in the period last year, but there's been a noticeable increase in inquiries. The report does note that there appears to be some ongoing impact on business confidence as a result of economic factors. So that is something that the service is starting to notice coming through in terms of the type and the scale of the queries that they're getting. You may also wish to note, if you're not already aware, so at 7.7, the work that was intended to be done through the Scottish Government's Nature Restoration Fund, that funding was paused mid-year, so that work has also paused as a result. And a significant focus of the tourism sector has been on the visitor levy, and we're working very well with other local authorities, particularly Orkney and Shetland, to resource the work that needs to be done in this regard. There's a significant update there on the work of the Heritage Service and the museum and archives within that, so lots of work going on there. And also positively at 7.15, you may wish to note that we've received funding from Bord na Gaelic that will support a Gaelic policy officer post and the continuation of the Gaelic student placement scheme. Work is ongoing on the local development plan and supplementary guidance associated with the current development plan. In terms of affordable housing supply, there's an update on the current activity at 7.18 of the report, so that is continuing to make steady progress. There's an update on the work being done by the homeless service, again positive, where we're seeing a decrease in use of bed and breakfast accommodation, and lots of good preventative work going on there in terms of moving people on to more longer term tenancies. There's an update on work on energy efficiency and fuel poverty, and also on, towards the end of the report, the work of the service in relation to renewable energy. So moving on just from the detail of the work that's going on, at 8.1, you might want to note that it hasn't been possible to provide a mid-year revenue monitoring report at this stage. That's due to the impact of the cyber attack. We are anticipating that to be going before yourselves at the next series. We have received a report on the first 6 months of expenditure, and that's been reviewed by the budget managers, and they haven't highlighted any unexpected variances or issues at this stage. So from what we've seen, it is looking like things are on track, but a more detailed report will come before you, hopefully at the next series. I'm happy to go back and take any questions on any elements within the report. Thank you, Chair.
Tapel Donna, Kish Sabiak, McDinear, Shaw. Meister McCormick.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Murray, for a very useful report. I wish to just ask a question in relation to paragraph 739, which is essentially about Northland Power. But the sentence that is important to me is the amount of commitment made in terms of community benefit from Scotland represents the equivalent of onshore community benefit standard of 5k per megawatt installed. Now, when this appeared in the press with much fanfare, and fair enough, I think a lot of people thought it was a lot of money. But in actual fact, it's not. It's just the basic standard that industry has been offering for many years. And it's a basic standard, for example, on which Lewis Wind Power agreed their deal as well, and possibly the others, I don't know. What I want to argue is that we must not accept the industry standard for our community. The upset to our community by 4 big wind farms being established is going to be huge. And on top of that, we've got the SSEN building and all the developments there. So am I right in thinking from the tenor of this paragraph that we are not going to accept industry standard and that we're going to go for very much more than that? Thank you.
Tapel, Meister McCormick, wel haasje aan de koning lesje gaan zo. Zo had ik iedere gemaakt haast. Ach haasje aan de koning geweest kude Ronne company geweest Jury een smu aardig er zo'n huis nog en na ha Babische company fijn tro project genelle. Ach bitte me Meister Connigan hoorde sterks voor ja aardig geef Manhattan de koning in Dordard.
Thanks, Chair. Just to note that 5k per megawatt is for the community estates affected on the west side of Lewis. We are at the end of that paragraph, we are pursuing Northland for a second pot of benefit, hopefully equivalent or almost equivalent to that for the wider community in the Western Isles. So taking the two together, it will be more than the 5, but take Councillor McCormick's point that we should be pushing for higher than the national standard.
Hello. Didn't you speak out of Jury in the Czech in Amazon? I mean, do you know?
Well, sin duk se vacuum so the rúis scuteach agus na choniu vacuum le Northland fadi and a Comhairle gaif. Chiad poist with the hinnemach gar hanne schon. Ore in about the Janule, the heider can of it, 10 year in Yelan for ski the niche go Bjarndai. Agus Fiamishin Yagrakare Erdus Moore, High Janule, Kate Pint, Coit Million, the shunt. Boyd Planetia could hit, agus a command at Earth. Fish to command got to hang all the correct the Northland got hound, a shunt Bonnock, the hill and the year of Fatahan, and on Tider shunt Storm of Agitation in the correct to a shunt, some shunt Diatric Shunamachagus, the Slachtons, Viccinia command, can make Baroch, at Napic Napoluna, Shun on the shunt, a Narnepoist can a Hoinsnach. Agus, na da hasin je finkin rot va Konische McCormack a gra. A tor Ahrishin dol Hines in Jeland de Chileske gat all dort. E mud agus e tid agus vi machine mar Holevik vi Keniach kel Bodach Kaisnach Gomor o Leibschen agus vi as an askemmeklitsch met a guppet kondish Uters Stornewach schon paarste gewar losen agus eidag jogin a holik an just an lachen schon we Kenia gefashin barach bonach kainstoch kutjach agus gwant de fiet sich hier a warach gien es na structure schon dolle etiet kutjach agus schon man a code ko gewoon klooster dort schon we Kenia gel een kainstoch gefind a wo noch gesmo schon verschiedene hues an der schalten agus de challesin hues schon ik weich geen energy hasen de galadortlich agus fislige machine fin dat an der schalten kre jouni bik we heen kan kainstoch de weich geen energy agus sule min de challesin tolle dort kelen hole het kiem kamala de schon we kenich kelle Kainstochtolien Ponacht mahas en daar de machine kunt de schalten kroasen niet kunnen ma a gedreinat ma hitje dus schon fistige gehuis nie huis schon.
Tapelets, Susan Comhairle committee some whole let fistige commission fine and earthliche Conian en Northland Dower. Didn't you be alle kiss? Man heel wil je kuntig en naaske ek een niere show. Tabloid. Koke kuspa sé dogus. Is haar show tot fistige erörtes haar janu lesjes museum. Is het Tsjechisch museum uit Charvas Atjovas. Ach maar stormy Karen Shores Tsjech met over de shows of Jowa. I would like to inform all members that you are invited to attend a visit to Marybank Store and Museum in Eilean from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Wednesday, the 4th of December. Transport will be provided from the Comhairle offices, returning around 1 p.m. in plenty time for our full council, which starts at 2 p.m. This is an opportunity to see the current challenges around museum stores, which need to be reported on to Museum Galleries Scotland as part of the accreditation process, and get an insight into our income and generation efforts. And this is an important part. A buffet lunch will be provided at the museum as part of the visit, and Colin George will email all members following this meeting to get an idea of numbers, and I would encourage you all to make the effort to attend. So Mr. Karen Shaw is checking son brindische naast. Thank
Tapel of Harretje. Giroxon raak me as gulletin hukov the accreditation sa yarandrish nyeki cheme yodig dus kushin fusruche rash go MGS me in the accreditation ach washin son fusruche hort kapail eth in the session you the yana go ricochet. He bail ek paragraph 6.1 hin gul fusruche agus figuren sin he jakestach. Skippe ik in de taski le taik voor visible vlachen het art morianu dus parak ariketje hoort stach gach kuch tro donations is kuchok ton vu urashin yuri is had er sar op de inflation ach hasin jenna soringen son chakstach barak chakstach hoort tron in de taski so college questions me dagert is joch maar heen graag ik wil ja bail in helion dat jakun is gaan je musje wisse koklok so bi miagma.
Very well. And kiss the break by like a damn show. Van Hill has seen how many duly Francis.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair. I just wondered, is it the case? Is it a bit of a catch-22? Without the heritage manager, we won't get the accreditation. Am I reading that right? And is it therefore, well, obviously there's no funding available for the heritage officer posts, and I take it lots of creative heads have been coming together to try and find that post, because it would be obviously beneficial all round if accreditation was returned. Thanks.
Thank you. Francis, Colin George.
Tapel of Harry. So, maar mogelijke moet ook graag. Ik zag point hin, als je tot menig role heritage manager, had weer een establishment zo'n pleonigen dus kun budget begon je. Ik is zit doeling reden hangen hier was. Haas je die kwant die in kruigel, budget de kun begon je. Is maar aan ik als een naar een bullet point is haas je kwant die kleine states toch kleine state funding. Jo eerder te gestart zo'n kleine state funding kun je ook een accreditation. Ga ik je redingstoch Katrine, Makush, Eilean had stach, toch zo'n buggen mark detail had schachat. Tapelef.
Tapelef, Katrine. Tapelef.
Maar wat ik ha
She muted. You're muted, I think. No.
is een complaintje in de nest? Is er een complaintje?
Is er
een complaintje? Wat dan je complaintje? Hanel?
Hanish.
Oh, Hanish. Maar waar Colin George gra ha een post gen heritage manager ha wie een establishment son pleonigen agus ha fémis son accreditation draste chanelism le kinj komachin ek partial accreditation ma nishin hulatat illa hedalistachga or chane shenet hover chudat shias shin ijes she cyber attack agus natuurlijk dat een gavrig shenach san son shenach chudat shin ko partial accreditation a chaism kun villat vi feinach man a heritage manager weinig gaat me join as een accreditation return in me jedig kujach. So mar en me kinjach J chanasat le kinj naar a chuisne return aan sa varst.
Tapelets, Katrina's. Dr. Moroch. Yeah, Carol.
Just for clarification, when I said sticker on a plane, the connection apparently for members who were flying up here earlier on today from used on the plane was apparently pretty much perfect. It's a shame sometimes Katrina's not able to get through to us, just in case she was embarrassed by my comment.
That's how dedicated the members were on the plane, just tuning into the jury in his chair. Yeah, Carol. Sure.
Sonkel Katrian Eilean, wel paramek boil gol gente is door aan de doorle maar gespoefe en kutig.
Hoe is het, Katrina?
Chwila, ha mi told is dorst de stay oor se bia ha frikker gaif, agus weinig met de Colin George maar jonne buffet at ha.
Great. Leva. Can't you wish niche? Wel kies se bia Katrina. Wel, aan de hill has je jury guntig, dus je naast ik 3 point hun. Sinds je koos het gaat kuspasier zet tijd is aan. Is has zo maar je een Tsjech parok van de Chinees koele er naar de dagjen. Is hanaas een le een konikan ach pastor Tsjecha. Ham ik jullie leven zoals we jou. On behalf of the Kola, I would like to congratulate Mrs. Kirsty MacLeod, the Energy Advice Manager with Town Inishgao, on being awarded the prestigious Fuel Poverty Hero Award for 2024 at the recent Energy Action Scotland Conference. This award is presented each year to a person making a significant impact and contribution towards tackling fuel poverty. Kirsty and her team have been key partners with the Cola in tackling fuel poverty over many years. I'm pleased to see that the funding the Cola provides to TIG helps support the excellent work delivered by Kirsty. So congratulations to Kirsty. I also want to welcome back to the committee Ian Watson. It's good to see you with us again, Ian. Welcome back. So, Minister, you're going to Master Conican, Hinchecks, Preen, Hednask, Eker.
Thanks, Chair. The report, as you have said, concerns additional council tax from second homes, which the Cona receives, and the Cona allocates that income on a 3-year cycle. And the proposal here is for the next 3-year period. The funding has to be used for housing strategy purposes, and the proposal that we've got in 6.1 very similar to the previous 3-year period. Worth noting, Chair, that there will be additional income this year because of the increase in the to 200% of the tax level since April. It's too early to calculate how much that will be, but we will get together with finance colleagues later in the year, and we might be able to cycle some of that back into these allocations, top them up if we can. But happy to take any questions.
Kishter, Brian. Callum, Master Callum.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not on your committee, but I don't know if it's competent to bring this up here, but it's to do with council tax, so I'll bring it up. It's to do with, I see that some of the funding from Actish is going towards what we mentioned here. And I'm going to ask, first of all, that I wasn't aware of this fact until a constituent of ours actually spoke to me about the fact that when you buy a house, and this is a young 23-year-old from the district has bought, I've just given an example, I won't mention who it is, has bought a house 2 years ago. It was in need of repair. She has had to take the whole house almost apart, but she was given a period of 2 years of half council tax, which is very good. That's a good allowance from the council. And the 2 years finished this year actually, but she hasn't finished the house. So she's going on to full council tax for this, although she isn't living in it. She's going on to full council tax, and she was asking, you know, if she could get the allowance back. But I spoke to Housing Benefits and the Revenues, and they said it wasn't possible because councillors agreed to this at some time in the past. That is a 2-year period of half council tax. That's correct, isn't it? They've got that.
Hanyald, me go le fissig is Shinak in a Rastville.
It would be good to do that because my plea is, Chair, is that 2 years to do up a house, and she's doing it out of her own money, is impossible in our financial climate. In other words, she's finding it impossible to have completed that in 2 years. I'm wondering if that could be extended to 4 years or 5 years. I'm just putting a plea on behalf of such as this 23-year-old local person, and I'm sure some of you others have got the same, having to do up a house. And in the climate nowadays, it's really, really difficult for these young people.
Okay, Mr. Connick and Ashton.
We could check with council tax colleagues, Chair. There is intense pressure on the construction industry at the moment because of all the wider works going on, so maybe there's some flexibility there.
All right, it's in the Ashton good edition.
Tabla Shakari Jura in a Shakarutava, Gonliche Makaleni Gra, Aukarshan Gra, Gewelt doing your fan. Nach hele getas be park hier schoonles aan tafel en had ik op dat dagje ga je nog eens zeggen zij real tussen ons om bleone in de uit naar de thuis gevaar de bleone te veugen waar we park hier schoonle ach was het vader in de grote unieke loren de bleone zijn nooit zo'n aardige tafel toch zo'n vestiging halt schar
Tapelet niet kunnen ja Kies beeldig toen je in een huis. Een honische Robertson.
Diolch zo'n taich gefeet gaan rode hoest kallen, want hij daar hoog belakken ze daar hoog belogen. Nu zie je gaan voor daar vliegend je ziet dat je nu zo is de koppige het jou heen is een lekker teen. Dus had de neste misschien in de peeg dubbeltje. Je moet het peeg zat dan nu dat hele voor de peeg council tax te HHP zo het hoorach hoog belogs. We gaan maar dan ga routing in ten mij.
Oké, tapelij zo Joshin Barok frustig mach op beil, maar jenes Siar. Wel beile kuntach is een mouw in ek 3 pointen heen. Tapelai. Kusper de scherk, ierskoch. Ha kemen we nog ierskoch te stuig. Konige skieren Gian made van een kosten na Hawappes. Han is geschieden gavelry flukkert. Kone de konige riotus na Hawappe. En de kemen we nog ierskoch te stuig. Skieren Gian made van kosten na Hawappe. Is ha Ian Kennedoch en zo zo'n brindische ask. Is flukkert kisten te be. Wel, weet je nou? Oh, met duidelijk, sorry. That's it.
Thank you, Chair. The Scottish Government opened a consultation seeking views on proposals for management measures to the marine protected areas in the Scottish offshore region, and also an amendment to the West of Scotland MPA boundary. The consultation is in 2 sections. The first part concerns proposed fisheries management measures for 20 MPAs within the Scottish offshore region and seeks views on the proposals. The second part of the consultation relates to the proposed amendment to the side boundary of the West of Scotland MPA. 2 options were available for response. This was full side closures or a zonal approach. The CONIUS response to the consultation is appended to the report. It is proposed that the COLIA response be homologated given that the closing date preceded this current committee series. I'm happy to take any questions members may have.
Tapelait Jan, wat de beilig donachig. Akines. Hier, Canard.
Taplas nach Carach. Secure dat voor mij mogelijk in je de nuppet voor goed kan daar schon had ik kunt de skiën worden maar het moest dus aan miele zo dus gehaald naar reunion waren tot schachten schon los dat duidelijk dus kom woord naar mij stollegune gieske zo goede hand ik schon het kiel ik de baatje waschen de rast kun je goed dan steach gan huistig in een besketje dus wat lot park je de in een jonge kies kan een sesketje dus haar roin jou schon pasten gan skiden als schon gefan jes ga ik al dollar ach wie je nog eens kun je gewild te slische wollen schon ach am schon vorne show de goed maar schon verging gan skiden maar voor je keek blion nog eens had je had slische roin schon agus was je vinken as in jees blion galaf gun torskiden maar as de huistige een besketje agus had je gedief mesig economiker na Eilean janu het even je we schöne de knieërs esle kanste kan besketje agus en een naastje kra dat unig skiden maar 120 lachen toe agus samen fasa is agus crossca kan het gwal no agus ik kan nu eens guun lachen toe voor je tijd blion han ik kulusvara je schon agus ga je januari toog kolchtische no years gehad ik jori show los dat dort agus afus kut je schon grondvias van een goede blion agus ik zeggen gehaald dat je kulusvara had an noord agus gan prisen de chart na ha je land na lappe agus ha mi mollig gomoor de molliene ha schon go dort ach firmer kunt blion aroon ha realtus tot in machle toormoor skiden varen ha stoje tid agus ha korrikiert gelehan agus ha toor de janu schon sapperste noich na skiden maris de skiden kleedje gesat hat troon agus mi heet het dort hat lot buurmoor e kanstukken es de Eilean show agus ik turnier al op gehaald vanaf hoe je morgen is skiden hat go kannel teruggeet es blion naar roon zo'n het turnier al op agus gaan je oren se wie het turnier al op agus firmer we kenjer de skieden gan a bheachcail go leor, skieden léiteach is an, har a finkin nó a tahar de tíden is, man a helu cuaderstein halú agus spaviska, cuirich vi in a monian, nís hanil calan agus an a monian a tofioi, agus fémer vi gama feichtelach, deint liad ort, le skieden léiteach is, ach, am a tolle se malaga seo.
Appelleis. Waar mi hins in Carol is uit zo heen kun je blionen niet heerskeren voor je aan te hechten en als wat je maar soller geneem sappers die janu hun eigen shows je moet toch natuurlijk het dezelfde ha het China de web grimmig zoals je kun je kunnen jansen zien als de blionen toch hoor tot tijken en grimmig as natuurlijk het is hoor Stein kujo gaan son nask curriculum. Svel kisje pi elektrine. Marshall morog.
Thanks, Chair. It was just to say that I found this report excellent and the information and especially the context that you gave in terms of our marine environment and the challenges we face. So I'm absolutely delighted to read a report like this and thank you very much for that.
Yeah. You're Carol.
Yeah, thanks for the contributions that everybody has made to this particular debate, particularly the work that Ian's put in. Following what Donald said about the WIFA meeting in Orsain, where not only the Comhairle were there, but the Western Isles Fishermen's Association, our newly elected MP and our MSP were there as well. I think it's only good that, particularly in fisheries just now, where there's sustained pressure going to be on them with the advent of maybe green legislation creeping in, but not just fisheries. I think across every aspect, if we have all the agencies working together on our MSP and our MP in the same room at the same time, we can make a stronger case for everything we're advocating for as a Comhairle. So I think it was very refreshing that under the auspices of the Western Isles Fishermen's Association, that meeting proved what can be achieved if we stick together and make the same voice be heard, unified voice be heard, to do with housing, to do with renewables, to do with absolutely everything we're doing as a Comhairle. It was my first sitting with WIFA and it was refreshing. Again, I'll reiterate, to see everybody who has a voice and a strong voice in all aspects of government around the same table. It was, I can only believe it was for the good of the association, and going forward, I'd like to see more collaboration of this ilk between everybody. I think it makes us stronger.
Thank you, Junior Carol. Kies op je dinge genaam zo. Man heel Hanomorian is oneindig ek 3.1. Item 8 is Regional Economic Strategy. The report seeks approval for the HIREP Regional Economic Strategy detailed in Appendix 1, an agreement to a refresh of the Outer Hebrides Economic Strategy outlined in Appendix 2. And Anne Murray will speak to the report and answer any questions.
Right on. Okay, great. Thank you, Chair. So the report is seeking approval of the HIREP Regional Economic Strategy. The Comhairle is a member of the Highlands and Islands Regional Economic Partnership, which has been in existence since 2021. And one of the key areas of work recently has been pulling together a regional economic strategy. It's now at the stage that the individual HIREP members are seeking approval of the strategy through their own governance processes. The full strategy, the draft strategy, is at Appendix 1, and just as detailed at 2.3, the themes, the focus of the strategy are relevant and are what we would expect. There's nothing there that contradicts what we would want to achieve from the Comhairle's own strategic perspective. I think there have been some concerns maybe about in terms of our engagement with the rep, that it needs to be collaboration that adds value rather than duplicating other activity. So that's something that we're continuing to highlight through the Regional Economic Partnership Officers Group and the main rep, which the leader sits on. As outlined at 2.4, the Outer Hebrides Economic Regeneration Strategy is out of date now and really needs to be brought up to date to align with what's happening here on the ground, with the opportunities that are ahead of us around renewable energy, the Comhairle's own corporate strategy and other relevant areas of work. So it's proposed that this be done in the next period, and that we would look to get a fairly quick exercise done around this and report back to yourselves at the February series. And a framework for that is provided at Appendix 2 for any comments that you would wish to make at this point in time. So happy to take any questions regarding the detail in the report.
Let's Kish subject by Gnam Shaw. Oh, me too. Here, Janet.
Wel, y dylad sy'n mi gyffiam sy'n mi ceinio gael strategy economic a chac yn ygys gyharad. Da sy'n y ffink yn y slog y cnianig ygys ys log y fast y syst. Gael sy'n y cwantys gael gydys yn ac yn y siarad cwantys gael eisiau dyn ygys gyharad gael na fa sy'n y cloent yn y bod trach yn la. Gael sy'n y cwantys gael nod y cwtio. Ygys y cwantydd an log agus na dyn i'ch amad ys y chaisnach agus mae'n asyn i ffeinc chaisnach yn y gwal smac yn halwach y hyn agus oedach gan y tîn ffo smac y chaisnach fi'n gymwr yn ochus y chwlwg hyn gan y hoedach gan asyn gyda'n y cwanti y slog y liadach agus na sgyd yn asyn agus cormant sy'n mi had a ffyn y sion y brich yn y chrwch gygal. Fi ceinioch gyngod na y cormant asyn y sion y geirstioch di gwrnig y maclodias na herig yn iachgwns. Bydd y hys yn nybyd y fas yn ydy ianw y sion. Te hyn un gan y sgyd sy'n oes yn y plan y gyn. Gael coinstwg yn has na hali giori dyn agus y brich yn ys y sgyd yn asyn. Agus sy'n mi greu droch sialag yw afas o'ch asyn yn Eilean yn yw'r dylad o'r dysyn slwg chymalus na Eilean. Agus fi'n sy'n ochus o'ch coinsnach a egfyl corym agus smac. Gyda hi cwmad dysyn ogri hwyd ysdiachan agus tehydys fi ceinioch ac agus eith cwl bydd asyn i ffeinc na had project yn môr y dylad o'r gan gaim sy'n na tehen heitje hogar agus gmedynje og gefudderhond agus gmedynje nog die shan ik in de skille nuur stjach kan en een huistak agus ham ik moord tot taicht en de bedede janu schon strategy afschogen de hele agus goes aan de schalt in fashion je vinken kwant men as log knienig ha fas tunjer alappe agus ha loine sies en hunjer vader wil komor de kainstukken daar de slogen hond te knieën agus een neusje en hunjer agus siemischen wie keinig hij kuf en hunjer het de kleintje komor is na 10 miljoen naar roon en als je niet wat de strategie uur de hele
daar pleits McKinnis as sin gynntach leis a bhór gal a gra shit Master McCormack.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much for the report. I must apologise, I have not read the full report from High Rep, I'm afraid, but I will. I wanted to figure in on paragraph 2.2 and the reference to just transition. I was invited to give evidence to, I think it was the Scottish Government Just Transition Committee that visited here some time ago. And I did that. I was asked to do so on the subject of poverty in the Outer Hebrides and also on the subject of community wind farms. And I did that. I haven't heard a word since then. And this phrase, just transition, is something that is in the press all the time. And what I wondered was, there are two things. First of all, do we have a clear idea of what we mean by just transition as far as the Western Isles is concerned? The upcoming years are going to be extraordinarily significant for our islands. I keep saying that, but a statement of obvious fact, I suppose. And clearly what we want to do, as has been said by many before me, we want to get the maximum benefit to our islands from the developments that are coming up. So do we have a clear idea of what just transition will mean for the Outer Hebrides? And the other question I wanted to ask relates to the framework in Appendix 2. And I wondered whether there should be somewhere some reference to the eradication of poverty, or is that already included in one of the headings that's there? Because it's a significant matter as far as we're concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McCormack. So I think taking your second point, first of all, I would hope that that is incorporated in the vision where we're looking to increase wages, increase average wages. So wages here are lower than the Scottish average. So that I think is something that should be essential to the vision of the economic strategy. So in turn, reducing poverty. On the just transition, I don't know what the official definition is, but I would expect that in the Outer Hebrides context, it is the kind of things that you've spoken about, where we don't want to see a situation where there's a host of renewable energy developments happening in the islands, but we're still experiencing the highest levels of fuel poverty in Scotland. So that, I would assume, is what we would see as a just transition.
It's a good definition.
So, sorry, Chair, thank you for allowing me to come in. And it's just that, I mean, in terms of assisting our officers and what they're doing, should we have a clear definition of what we're looking for in terms of just transition?
Wel, gyda chi'n iesbryd sy'n osych eich yn sio, mae sy'n gyriach. Ik sy'n na chwydioch eich yn offer gyda. I would support that if we want to work on a definition. If we want to have a debate on defining that just transition, I think it would cover a multitude of topics and subjects which you have mentioned as well. So I think it's something we can consider in due course and feed into the strategy. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Looking at sub-goal 6A in Appendix 1 and sub-goal 6B on protecting and building on the best of provision, I mean, obviously collaborating with other authorities and other bodies is a good thing, but sometimes there's an unintended consequence. And while it is good to look at looking at the best of provision, I'm very mindful that perhaps when we do collaborate, maybe expertise and jobs go out of this area and into other areas, and we would want to avoid that. I'm thinking particularly of the FEHE situation that we face currently in the islands. Thank you.
That is certainly a good example of the current situation with UHI. Mustafa?
Thank you, Chair. It wasn't a question, it was a quick comment about, obviously, in preparation for the next Outer Hebrides strategy for 25 things we're looking at. I wonder, obviously, we'll have a comparative between the SWOT analysis that's been done for the previous one and for now, just to see if our obviously weaknesses at that time have been addressed and our opportunities have been taken in consideration. So it would be good to have a comparison of that SWOT analysis when we do the next one. Thank you.
Okay. Let's. Cannot.
Thank you, Chair. I'm really grateful to Anne for pointing out not the issues, but the dangers in the regional economic partnership, and us putting resource towards it when we shouldn't be. There's danger of duplication, and also we've limited workforce at the moment. So just being careful that we're not overstretching. So I think we're absolutely right time to put together Outer Hebrides economic strategy 25 to 35. It also coincides with 50 years of the corridor, so I think it's a lot we can do around the refresh of it. Councillor McCormack's point about defining what the just transition is, good time to do it when we're refreshing this strategy, because obviously we're moving from something to something in the transition. How we're going to get there, make sure we do it fairly. We're doing that through community wealth building as well, which we're really leading the country, although we maybe never called it that, but that's what we've always tried to do here. So I think just acknowledging what we've done in the past and what we're hoping to do to get us to where we need to be in the future in terms of the economic strategy for the Outer Hebrides.
Tapelets Chard. Files Bialik Yuri Nishach Knamsho, and you, Manahil, and Mawi Nation like 3 point hun son Untergich. H. Kusper Gabel and a Giaber, a Chirich Hanu, as machine question, Kusper Jich, Ashkin Has Trihin, as Hashin son Fistachich. H. Nish and a Giaber. So, before Africa and Emichi Icebeil and Hutti Pirok, as Yorin, Work